if you haven't heard, Rick Caruso not running for mayor. It was leaked from one of his political advisors, Mike Murphy. Alex Michelson at CNN had it. Also, Los Angeles Times reported it. Austin Butner, that's news came out this morning. He's not running for mayor either. He's dropped out of the race. He suffered a terrible tragedy. His daughter was found dead about a month ago in Palmdale. She was somehow lying on the side of the road, and that's still a mystery as to how that happened. But Rick Caruso is out. Austin Butner is out. The deadline to run for mayor is tomorrow, and it is Karen Bass, Spencer Pratt, and other people you haven't heard of. And maybe we'll get to know them soon. I don't know. And that ridiculous Lindsay Horvath is threatening to run. Best I could say about her is she probably wouldn't have flown to Africa right before the fire started. But as far as her policies, they're as ridiculous and destructive as she gets angry when homeless people are removed. We'll see if she runs, and if she runs, we'll get into that. It does bother her greatly when homeless people are forced off the streets, and that's just what we need in a mayor, huh? So you got Spencer Pratt, and I'm sure we'll be talking to him a lot coming up in the next few months. The primary is in June, and then if nobody gets 50%, 51%, then there's the runoff in November. Now, we're telling you about Gavin Newsom. It is impossible to explain to people who are emotionally invested in Gavin Newsom. His audience seems to be largely young to middle-aged women, many of them who are quite taken by his handsomeness. As that idiot writer for Vogue said, he's embarrassingly handsome. And he does incredibly stupid, destructive things. The latest is, we were just telling you in the first half hour, that Valero is closing its refinery in Benicia. It was it couldn't sustain the weight of the regulations and the taxes anymore. And Valero is now willing to take a $1 billion loss closing the refinery rather than continue doing business in California. It's really a huge problem. It's 20% of our refinery capacity, and that cannot be replaced here in the state. We don't have oil pipelines that come in from other states. We have to take it by cargo ship, and we don't have the space in the ports to take any more cargo imports. It's really bad. And we just had Mike Ariza on. He's in the gas and oil industry. He said, you really are looking at $8 a gallon, which we warned you about months and months ago. And he says it's coming. There's no way it can't come because there's going to be a great shortage of gasoline and oil. This, of course, gets no coverage at all outside of the California Globe. Guess all the left-wing progressive journalists and editors and producers don't believe it, but they'll be paying $8 too. But maybe they think that's appropriate because we're helping to protect the environment. Okay. Now, more Gavin Newsom stupidity. He held this ridiculous press conference yesterday to brag about a high-speed rail making progress, and he's standing in Wasco. Did you see this? He's trying to claim that they have enough money to build a 119-mile segment between Madera and Wasco. Now, Wasco borders a town called Shafter. And at times I have seen that the high-speed rail is going to, the segment that they want to build is going to end in either Shafter or Wasco, but they're side by side. The thing is, they're about 30 miles away from Bakersfield. So if you took the train 119 miles from the north, and you took it to the end, it would land in Wasco, and then what do? I mean, Bakersfield is the metropolitan center. And there is no public transit that goes from Wasco to... And he's bragging about this because they haven't laid track yet, but they have a what is it, a trailhead they said they have? I guess maybe it's the end of the line. I looked it up today. I said, okay, well, how close is Wasco to Bakersfield? And it's like 28 miles. And then the north end is supposed to end in Madera, which is well to the west of Merced. Now, there is no market to travel between Bakersfield and Merced back and forth, but there's even less of a market to travel between the Wasco-Shafter combination up to Madera. These are like small dots picked at random, and that's the train line. And he held a press conference to announce the progress, and then he's putting out videos, like promotional videos, and he's standing in front of a freight train. And I guess he thought that most people don't know the difference between a freight train and a passenger train, like an old freight train as opposed to a futuristic passenger train, which is what the high-speed rail is supposed to be. So it's like, who are you trying to kid? That's a freight train. Like he made it look like, hey, we made some progress. Look at that. We even have a train here. What's wrong with him? He's acting more senile than Biden. Now, none of this would matter, but he's leading in the polls to be the Democratic candidate, which he'll never be. He's not going to be the Democratic candidate. I mean, look what we've learned just in the last half hour. We got $8 an hour, $8 a gallon gas looming. We've got the federal government coming in to try to make heads or tails out of the Palisades fire situation and the Altadena fire situation. We have Bass being exposed for the big lie because she did rewrite the report, and if she didn't, she's not telling who did. And Newsom's role in this is completely overlooked. He didn't pre-deploy any fire engines to the Palisades. In fact, it was his employees that kicked the Los Angeles Fire Department off the land where the original fire was still smoldering. He's not going to get the nomination. Then there's this. Well, it's more about high-speed rail. High-speed rail, Gavin Newsom, according to the California Post, is desperately trying to keep the secret details of the high-speed rail project. The California Post has obtained records detailing 58 separate construction projects built over the past 8 years between Merced and Bakersfield, and they have pictures of this, and it was... Bakersfield and Merced have a combined population of 500,000. So the cost of adding high-speed rail service works out to $22,000 per person. Now the Democrats are pushing legislation that would hide high-speed rail audit records from public scrutiny. They want to hide the true scale of the high-speed rail cost. Kevin Kiley is onto this, and he says at the very moment we finally started ramping up efforts to figure out what happened to all the money, they're taking extraordinary action to hide records related to high-speed rail. State Transportation Committee Chairwoman Lori Wilson introduced Assembly Bill 1608, which would allow the rail project's Inspector General to withhold reports if they describe or reveal weaknesses that could be exploited by individuals trying to harm the interests of the state. I guess like federal investigators. Newsom's administration has introduced nearly identical separate legislation, according to CalMatters.com. So they've introduced legislation that would allow high-speed rail to hide all its financial problems. That's what Newsom is doing. That's how bad it is. It's like Karen Bass directed the attorneys to hide for 30 days the testimony in the civil lawsuit regarding the Palisades fire. How she had 15 attorneys hired so she wouldn't have to testify about where her $2 billion in homeless money, where that went. Now you have Newsom. He's pushing a bill through the legislature so all the high-speed rail financial records can be covered up.